Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. The channel's called Ratchet. My name's Andrew, and on today's episode, we find out why I end up with no doors. Run the title. Welcome to the channel. If you're not new, welcome back. Thank you for tuning back in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below so you don't miss any new episodes that I do release. You can go back and check out all the previous episodes that I have released. Link should be up in the top corner there, and that will bring you up to speed with how the car stands exactly at the moment. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing some further work to the interior. I'm making some really good progress on that at the moment, so I will bring you up to speed with what's going on. Today's work has been a bit unexpected, to be honest. All I planned to do was to cut off a small piece of the ABS sheet and just have a play around, heating it up, bending it, forming it, just to see how it behaved, to then build up to start to make the footwell panels. In true fashion, I thought I would skip all of that practice and just jump straight into it. So let me show you what I've ended up with. So there you go. 2 footwell panels, and then just held in place with a number of Tech screws. And it's worked out lovely. There's a couple of creases that I put in to help form the shape around the inside of the chassis. Nice and solid. And they're just going to give me just a real nice basis to then carpet onto. Also see that got the panel for the steering column bulkhead bonded in place. I installed 4 riv nut inserts for the collar to fix to. So that's that done and dusted. So now I can move on to sound deadening the firewall, and then also start to look at forming a nice coolant pipe tunnel. Work's been progressing quite well in a number of areas. So the first thing to bring you up to speed on is the new coolant pipe tunnel. So basically this is the old Tornado one, which is perfectly serviceable. The back of mine has been chopped around slightly because of the dropped floor. But as you can see, it's just a fiberglass tunnel, but I thought I want to free up as much space as possible around my feet. So I wanted to create something that was as low profile as possible. So that basically brings in this, which is, again, it's made out of mild steel. I had some 60mm diameter tube kicking around in the garage. So I basically cut that in half, and I've fabricated myself up a new transmission tunnel. Well, it's not a transmission tunnel, it's a coolant pipe tunnel. And I think that should do the job. So let me show you how that looks in the car. So this is where things start coming together nicely. You'll see, well, basically it fitted in place. And I'm pretty happy with how it looks. The next area that I'm moving on to is the covers for the original section of the tunnel. So these panels on the clad the side of the tunnel are actually pre-drilled by Tornado. But what the guy previous to me did, which is fair enough, is he installed some riv nuts top and bottom to actually make these panels removable. Thinking about the serviceability of the car, I don't think I'm going to need to remove these side panels at any time. Certainly the top panels, because I need to adjust the handbrake in there. So on this top panel, it was missing a few fixings, so I added the missing riv nut fixings to this front panel. I'm going to remake this back panel. Basically, it just fitted in there, but again, to try and prevent as much heat soak as possible, I'm actually going to extend the panel right up and around the handbrake, so it just fits much better. And then, yeah, rivet in these side panels you can see where I've added the bracing that I just need to trim these to get adequate room. So if we go around to the driver's side, you can see that I've already removed the riv nut fixings. I've welded those over, made good the metal, sprayed it black, and I have pre-drilled the holes for the rivets. So offering up the panel, which I've lined with reflective tape. That then fits nicely along there. I've trimmed where the rails sit, and that fits super nice, just waiting for it to be riveted into place. So that's how things are looking at the moment. So I've made my cardboard template for the rear portion of the tunnel, which I then transferred over to some alley sheet that I had laying around. So that's got me that. So what I then want to do is replicate the spacings of the existing rivet holes, or of the preset rivet holes on the Tornado piece, just so my fixings and rivets match. What I did buy, it's made by a company called EDG Engineering. You can look them up on Facebook. They 3D print this awesome concertina rivet spacer. They are the same company that 3D printed me my steering boss adapter for my NRG quick release steering wheel. So this thing is absolutely awesome. And so that allows me just to line up the holes on the existing Tornado panel and then just transfer it through to my new panel. And it's always nice to buy a cool little piece like this. There you go, logo 3D printed on the back side, if you can just make that out. EDG Engineering on Facebook, so give them a look up. And finally, here is the new top panel around the handbrake installed. I must admit, I have thought since making this panel that this gives me zero adjustability of the handbrake cables. So I may cut the panel there and there, just so they're separate items, so I can get to the handbrake bolts without removing the carpet should I need to. But this is how the tunnel is now shaped up, and I'm really happy with how it looks. Things have got more serious than I first thought. So, no door. Hole inside of car. Let me explain why. So let's come round to the passenger side and I'll show you what is going on. So on the inside here, there's this closing panel that I must admit I wasn't a fan of the fit and finish. It looks all right and it sort of does the job. It's difficult to see at this angle, but it's actually made of two pieces. So we've got this piece here and then the piece that wraps around the inside, and they're not actually joined with any physical fixings. They're just got a bead of adhesive running down the middle, so it's not the most of robust details. I sort of knew this was coming, so I'd factored it in on my to-do list. So here's another view, and you'll see the missing rivet holes. So what I did, coming back round to the driver's side, was obviously remove the door there, and then remove the offending panel, just drilling out the rivets and cutting away any adhesive that was there. So this is the offending piece. Admittedly, it's pretty battered where I was bending it and getting it out of the car, but you can see it's two pieces just stuck together. So from there, throw that one to one side. I made myself a cardboard template of the shape that I wanted to create, which I then transferred onto some alley sheets, and I've ended up with this one piece formed with various lips and tabs and fixing points that I wanted. Now let me show you it in the car, and you'll see how much more of a robust panel this is in comparison to the previous one. So now the new panel's fitted in place, the holes along this front edge I've just transferred over from the old panel, so those will rivet in the same place. Let me show you from the inside. So I'll be the first to admit I've messed up on these holes down this front edge, which is annoying, but it's livable. But now what I've got is return edge around here, which is as per the other panel. I've got a new return edge along the top. I've got a return edge along the bottom as well. So once that is glued into place and riveted, it's going to provide a far more water resistant panel than the previous. So as always, work's been moving ahead well. Let me show you how the driver's side now looks. So along the top edge of the outer sill, I've now sprayed that white. I didn't do that when I added the stripe down the side, so that tidies that up just for completeness. Also the bottom hinge plate and also the chassis itself, I've given a coat of black just to get all that tidied up as well. So the rough portion you see here is where the rubber panel gap trim sits, so that will be covered. So this side is basically ready to have the panel bonded in. So let me show you now the passenger side. So doors off, panels cut out, foam sound deadening removed, in prep to be cleaned up, and that panel sound deadened. Using the template from the driver's side, I'll just double check that all is as it should be before forming the new aluminium panel for this side. And again, same as the driver's side, I'll spray along this top edge white just to finish that off, and then spray the brackets and the inner portion of the chassis black as well. So to form the driver's side, I used this, which is my built from scrap metal folder. I made this 10 years ago, I would have thought. It's a piece of 50mm box with a piece of 50mm angle, some hinges welded, holding it all together, and this angle which clamps the plate that runs through underneath. So let's get started forming the passenger side. So although I made it look extremely painful to make, that is the passenger side formed. So there's only one thing to do: stick it in the car and see how it fits or not. As a very quick fit of the initial fold, it's basically how it's looking, and with a bit of tweaking here and there, I think it's workable.
One eternity later.
And there it is. Like I said I was going to do, I made good the overspray all in this area and on the back side of the chassis. So it all looks far tidier now. As the other side, the top of the outer sill, I've sprayed white. And then moving inside, panels installed and sound deadened. The filler necks I've refitted. So that's now both sides completely bonded and riveted in place, everything refitted and ready to move on to the next stage, which is forming the ABS plastic trims around the filler neck. So that basically wraps up this episode. I hope you have liked what you've seen. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below so you don't miss any future content that I do release. Coming up on the next episode, more interior work, funnily enough. Yeah, I think I'm going to work on the panels around the filler neck and also start work on trying to make all of that ugliness look pretty there and there. So we'll see how I get on doing that one. So I will catch you next time.